I felt more sadness, more overwhelming sense of depression, basically lower than I'd ever felt in my entire life. It was absolutely profound. I was crying endlessly without knowing why I was crying. I was miserable.
That was Stanford neurobiologist Andrew Huberman describing a moment where his dopamine receptors were chemically blocked. It wasn't just sadness, it was the total absence of drive. In this conversation, he dismantles the popular myths about dopamine hits to reveal the biological machinery that actually controls your ambition, focus, and satisfaction. This is Synthesize, where we turn long podcast conversations into their most important ideas. We think of dopamine as a reward, a gold coin we get for doing something good. But Huberman argues that dopamine isn't just about the peak, it's about the valley that inevitably follows. Every high has a cost.
That when you experience something or you crave something really desirable, really exciting to you, very pleasurable, what happens afterwards is your baseline level of dopamine drops. Okay, so these peaks in dopamine, they influence how much dopamine will generally be circulating afterward. And you might think, oh, a big peak in dopamine, after that, I'm going to feel even better because I just had this great event. Not the case.
This is the fundamental law of your neurochemistry. The brain seeks homeostasis. If you spike your dopamine too high, too fast, your brain doesn't just return to normal, it plunges below baseline to compensate. That post-success emptiness you feel isn't a psychological flaw, it's a biological correction. To understand what happens when this system breaks completely, we have to look at a tragic case from the 1980s. A group of young people took a synthetic drug that accidentally destroyed their dopamine neurons entirely. The result was terrifying.
A large number of young people who were opioid addicts became completely boxed in, paralyzed. Couldn't speak, couldn't blink, couldn't do anything, couldn't function, couldn't move. So both aspects of dopamine transmission were disrupted. They had no motivation and drive. They couldn't generate any movement of any kind. They were literally locked in, frozen.
This is the extreme end of the spectrum, but it illustrates a crucial truth. Dopamine is movement. It is the very force that compels you to interact with the world. Without it, you aren't just sad, you are statistically frozen. Motivation isn't a mood, it's a motor. So, if big spikes cause big crashes, are we doomed to a flat life? Not necessarily. Huberman highlights one specific stimulus that raises dopamine significantly, rivaling hard drugs, but without the devastating crash.
Into the cold water, that everybody experiences these huge increases in adrenaline. But then what was interesting is they observed that dopamine levels started to rise somewhat slowly and then continued to rise and reach levels as high as 2.5 times above baseline. In case it wasn't a rise and crash. It was actually a sustained rise in dopamine that took a very long time, up to 3 hours, to come back down to baseline.
A 250% increase is roughly what you get from cocaine. But the difference lies in the kinetics, the shape of the curve. Cocaine spikes and crashes, leaving you depleted. Cold exposure creates a slow, sustained release that elevates your baseline for hours. It's a clean high that serves focus rather than stealing it. Most of us don't use cocaine, but we do something equally damaging to our baseline. We stack our dopamine sources. We drink the pre-workout, blast the favorite playlist, check the phone, and text friends, all at the same time.
Layering together all these things to try and achieve that dopamine release, and by getting a big peak in dopamine, you're actually increasing the number of conditions required to achieve pleasure from that activity again. And the next time you need twice as much coffee and 3 times as much loud music and 4 times as much energy drink and the social connection just to get out the door.
This is how you burn out on your passions. By maximizing the pleasure of an experience every single time, you raise the threshold for enjoyment. Eventually, the activity itself, the workout, the study session, can't produce enough dopamine to register. You haven't lost your passion, you've just numbed your receptors. The solution isn't to live like a monk. The solution is to think like a casino. Casinos keep you hooked not by giving you a win every time, but by giving you a win sometimes. We can apply this intermittent reinforcement to our own discipline.
You can flip a coin before engaging in any of these types of activities and decide whether or not you are going to allow other dopamine supportive elements to go, for instance, into the gym with you. Are you going to listen to music or not? If you enjoy listening to music, well, then flip a coin, and if it comes up heads, bring the music in. If it comes up tails, don't.
Randomness is the key to retention. If you only listen to music during some workouts, determined by chance, you prevent your brain from predicting the reward. This keeps your dopamine system sensitive and engaged, rather than bored and expectant. But what about rewards? We're taught that rewarding good behavior builds habits. Huberman warns that if the reward comes from the outside, like a gold star or a paycheck, it can actually destroy your drive to do the work itself.
The researchers took kids that liked to draw, and they started giving them a reward for drawing. The reward generally was a gold star or something that a young child would find rewarding. Then they stopped giving them the gold star, and what they found is the children had a much lower tendency to draw on their own.
When you focus on the gold star, the grade, the money, the praise, your brain dissociates the pleasure from the effort. The work becomes just a toll you pay to get the prize. When the prize is removed, the work feels pointless. This is why passion projects die as soon as they become jobs. The ultimate biohack, then, is to flip this dynamic entirely. Instead of working for the reward at the end, you must psychologically attach the reward to the struggle itself. You have to convince your ancient machinery that the pain is the prize.
But you also have to tell yourself that in that moment, you are doing it by choice and you're doing it because you love it. And I know that sounds like lying to yourself, and in some ways it is lying to yourself, but it's lying to yourself in the context of a truth which is that you want it to feel better.
This is the neurological definition of a growth mindset. It's not just a positive attitude, it's a rewiring. If you can release dopamine during the friction because you value the friction, you become limitless. You no longer need the external wind to keep going. The effort becomes its own fuel. Huberman's framework changes the definition of success. It's not about how high you can fly, but how well you manage your altitude. First, protect your baseline. Don't chase spikes that leave you empty. Second, embrace randomness. Use the coin flip to keep your brain guessing and your motivation fresh. And finally, learn to love the friction. The moment it gets hard is not the obstacle, it is the destination. Look at the one area of your life where you feel the most burnt out. Are you tired of the work? Or are you just tired of the dopamine crash you've been engineering for yourself? If this kind of breakdown helps you think differently, you'll probably enjoy the next video too.